Hi there. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Beyond the Frame. I'm your host, Joe Parente, and I've learned some of my most valuable life lessons from my favorite TV shows and movies. Sure, these works of art entertain us, offer us an escape, and even tap into our emotions, but there's one E that's often overlooked.
And that's educational. If viewed from a different perspective, these stories and their characters can help us to learn and develop as human beings. I'm your co-host, Ryan Vanderhei, and it's our mission with this podcast to help share these unique perspectives with you so that you can grow from the show.
Right on. And today's topic of discussion, the film The Princess Bride.
Ooh.
As always, there will be spoilers, which makes me laugh. So proceed with caution if you've been living in a cave for the last 40 years. And to be sure, leave a like, rating, or review wherever it is that you listen or watch, because it really helps us grow the show. Ryan, shall we begin?
Let's do it, man.
Awesome.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
So Ryan, I've been thinking, particularly after watching Princess Bride.
Okay.
What makes us, human beings, love hearing stories? You know, even stories where there's kissing involved, which was clearly an issue in this one. Yeah, exactly.
Kissing. I don't want to hear that.
So if you've seen the movie, you'll know exactly why I just said that. You know, and this is a movie about a story being told.
Right. Yeah.
You know, which I really love.
Yeah.
And if you truly haven't seen it, I'm just going to give, a brief overview of what we're talking about here with Princess Bride. You've got a grandfather, Peter Falk, formerly Columbo, telling his reluctant grandson a story. And, why was the grandson so drawn in? And why were we? That's what I've been thinking about that a lot.
That's a great question.
The grandson he's like, well, are there sports? He's like looking for any kind of redeeming factor.
Yeah, he's like, oh, the kissing. Yeah, that's why we said that.
Exactly.
He really wasn't into it. He's like, oh, grandpa's coming over.
Exactly. He was not into it at all.
He wanted to
Fred
play his
Savage
video
was
games.
awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I love it.
He was awesome as this.
Yeah.
And he does absolutely get into it.
He does, because the first time we come back to, after he starts the story, the first time we come back to him and the grandpa, he's like, wait.
Yeah.
Like, what happens next?
Right.
And then he's like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
Hear more, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I started thinking about that, and I did a little bit of, the Google search kind of thing.
All right.
And I found that there is a scientific way to look at our love of stories.
I'm interested.
So look, I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff out there, and I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV yet, but so I might get some things wrong, but I just thought that this kind of cursory overview of brain chemistry will be kind of interesting.
Fascinating.
When it comes to stories and our bonding to them. So historically, stories were how humans got their information.
Yeah.
We did not have the internet machine. We didn't even have books and writing forever. Stories were told on cave walls. They were told in hieroglyphics. They were told in all kinds of ways. And it really did serve a very important purpose for preserving our species.
Sure.
Not propagating, but definitely preserving.
Yeah, you got to tell a story about the lion that ate
That's
your
right.
friend.
That's right.
Otherwise,
That's right.
The tribe won't survive.
Right. So there was absolutely a practical history for stories. But what's really cool is that our bodies will reinforce the impact that stories have on us.
Ooh, can you elaborate on that?
I can, Ryan. Excellent question. So when we hear a story, particularly one we like, we have a physiological reaction, and two areas of our brain in particular light up like a Christmas tree.
Ooh.
The first is the prefrontal cortex, and the other is the amygdala. So the prefrontal cortex is responsible for cognition and understanding. I mean, a lot more, but it's kind of like what makes you Ryan, what makes me Joe, and a lot of logical thinking goes on in the prefrontal cortex. It's one of the newer parts of the brain. We have older midbrains that are more in charge of blanking and fighting and dancing and drinking and
animalistic.
We've got those like reptilian brains, if you will. So the prefrontal cortex is kind of like modern, species kind of thing.
Got it.
And so when the prefrontal cortex hears a story, it stores it in short-term memory. So as your prefrontal cortex is receiving information, the amygdala helps attach emotions to that information, which contributes to the storage of long-term memories.
Whoa.
It's very cool, if I got that right. But wait, there's more goodness.
Okay.
So Ryan, have you ever heard of this phrase? It's called the angel's cocktail in reference to neuroscience and storytelling.
No, I've never heard of the angel's cocktail. Please inform me.
I will. So this is referring to, again, the physiology and the neurotransmitters that are released when you hear a story.
Okay.
So 3 brain chemicals contribute to the emotional connection with that story and even with the storyteller themselves, which I think is very cool. So let me give you the makings of the angel's cocktail, so to speak.
All right.
First one is dopamine.
Ooh, baby.
Oh yeah.
I love some dopamine. Give me all I can get.
I just think of like lab rats, ding, 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 get more, sugar water and dopamine.
Yeah.
So
we're all continually chasing.
Yes,
the dopamine.
aren't we though? I was going to say I was chasing just a few hours ago.
Yeah.
We love dopamine a lot.
Yeah, we do.
It also helps us with, amongst other things, controlling memory.
Okay.
Okay. So we remember good times really well,
Sure. Sure.
It can make a person feel motivated and focused. And we can get a rush of dopamine when we hear like a story of a hero winning a battle.
Yeah, it gives us a rush.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you might think William Wallace, Braveheart. Wait, you haven't seen that.
Yeah, give me a different one here. Give me a different story that I can relate to, damn it.
Winning, what's a good example of winning a battle? I always just love William Wallace, even though he didn't ultimately win. Sorry to give that away.
Battle of the Bastards?
Battle of the Bastards.
Game of
Of
Thrones.
course.
When he comes out of that,
Oh,
he's like getting sucked down into and then Kit Harington like
Yeah, exactly.
comes out. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's a
I get
good
it.
one.
Totally.
That gave you a dopamine hit. Okay.
Oh, it gave me a lot. I think I watched that again and again and again.
Okay. So, but there are more. So,
Okay, so first we got dopamine,
correct.
and now we have
Oxytocin.
okay.
Oxytocin is sometimes referred to as the love chemical.
Mm.
So it helps with bonding and it also helps you feel emotionally connected to a story. So stories that are like happily ever after can evoke the release of this fun stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So the last ingredient of what has been called the angel's cocktail is endorphins. So these are good time chemicals.
Okay.
And they're released when you hear a story that makes you laugh or feel happy.
Man.
Yeah. The result can be a burst of creativity or relaxation or just more happiness.
I love that.
So I think it's fascinating that it's not only about these emotions and the brain chemistry helping you bond with and relate to the story, but also the storyteller. That's what I found.
Oh, interesting.
Fascinating.
Okay. So it extends beyond the story itself.
Yeah.
To the actual person telling the story.
Yeah. So if you have like a friend or someone you know that's really good at telling stories, you're probably going to gravitate to that person. You're going to want to hear what they have to say.
Because they're giving you angel's cocktail.
That's right. That's right.
You got to keep these people around, man. They're keeping us
Exactly.
alive.
Exactly. And that's part of why we love hearing a good story that, like, the grandson being read the story by his grandfather. It's
Yeah.
part of why we love going to movies.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah.
I feel like in my life too, I've felt the same thing. Like I love sitting down and hearing a good story.
For sure.
Somebody tells me about some event that they encountered in their life 10 years ago or something.
Exactly.
Some bizarre, like it draws you in.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and I thought it was fascinating that dopamine can help bring those memories into your long-term memory and really just pave those pathways of, I will never forget this. This was such a fantastic time.
Sure.
Or this was such a great movie that moved me so much
Yeah.
that it's going to stick with me.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of this
Isn't it?
show. We do.
Isn't it though?
It's literally all it is.
And I just love the fact that there is, we are having physiological reactions that are really driving home the emotional tenor. Hello, I have
got
a
a
friend,
little friend
behind
back
me.
there. Yeah.
It's a cat. In case you're listening and you're not watching, there's a cat like sniffing my head.
Yeah, she's gonna wander.
It's Ryan's cat. It's
into
not
the-
just like a cat that came in off the
And we're
street.
back.
And
There
we're
we
back.
go.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
no, absolutely. I agree. I think that I love hearing stories. I love watching movies, reading books, TV shows, anything that I can sit and lose myself in.
yeah, for sure.
And get that angel's cocktail.
That's right.
Now that I know. You've given me firepower, man, now.
So quite frankly, Princess Bride gave me a pretty damn good fix.
Sure.
I gotta say, like it's a very sweet movie. It's
is.
not
It's
pretending
endearing.
to be rugged or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's very sweet.
Is this
know?
a parody? I was thinking about this. Is this a parody of...
It's not.
Oh, okay.
Although he'd already made Spinal Tap, which was like the ultimate parody. Have you seen that?
No.
We're gonna have to change that.
That'll be a later episode.
That is. Have you heard of Spinal Tap?
I've heard of the name, yes.
It
It's
is.
just like I had heard the name Princess Bride. I just had never seen it.
Got it. It
But
was.
now when I saw the movie, I'm like, oh, this is where that's from. My name is Inigo Montoya.
Oh, yeah.
You killed my
My
father.
father
Prepare to die.
die.
Yeah.
I love that.
I've heard that line so much over the years. Now I
Oh, so when
finally-
you heard that, that must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. I was like, this is it. This is the one.
I've read so much too about the trivia, like behind the scenes and shooting this. Like Mandy Patinkin, who played Inigo Montoya, said this was by far his most favorite shoot of all time.
Wow. It looks like it was probably a lot of fun.
I think they did have a lot of fun. I watched an interview with Robin Wright, kind of getting ahead of myself, but that's okay. And she said that they filmed this in the middle of nowhere, England.
Oh.
And so the whole crew was staying in a hotel together. And she said every night was like potluck dinner. And she just said everyone bonded and had a great time.
That's going to make a great product.
It is going to make a great product. Andre the Giant, who's in this.
Which I was surprised as well. I was
and
like, wait, what the hell? That's
was
Andre
he
the
not?
Giant.
Was he not awesome?
He was
too?
great.
He was great. He said that he loved this movie so much because everyone treated him like a human being. Like nobody was looking at him like a freakish guy.
Yeah, it was
They were looking at him like another actor, like part of the gang,
another
part of the
part
crew.
Yeah.
And
That's
I love
awesome.
that. By the way, Andre the Giant learned to put other people at ease because he was so huge by calling everyone boss.
Hey, how's it going, boss?
Yeah,
How you doing, boss? Yeah,
I love that.
I love that too.
I think that was really cool. Anyway, so I want to get into why this gave me such a fantastic mix of brain chemistry.
I'd love to hear it.
But first, we're going to do a quick overview of the movie if you have indeed not seen it, because obviously you are living proof that not everyone has seen this movie.
That's absolutely correct.
It did become a cult classic years after it was made. It was a $16 million budget. They made 30 million, which is great as far as, ROI goes.
Yeah.
But I think it was really in the years after that. It came out in 1987. I think in the 90s, it really took off.
Okay.
And with movie rentals.
Sure, it became a cult
it
classic.
absolutely did.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really stood out to me is there's so many great lines. But we're going to go over that.
Just like that Inigo Montoya
Yeah,
line.
exactly. So let me just give you the quick overview for all y'all out there. Even if you have seen it, hopefully this will just be a refresher. So we have the grandson who's sick at home, played by Fred Savage. I think just after Wonder Years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And
Good time for him.
totally. And
doing well.
Grandpa came home. Grandpa came over. And again, this was Peter Falk. And he comes to the bedside of his grandson, tells him he's going to read him a story that his grandfather read to his father, and his father read to him.
And he read to his dad. And now he's gonna
Exactly.
read to him.
Exactly. And so grandson hears this and just rolls his eyes like, oh, God, this is going to be painfully boring.
Yeah.
He asks if it has the good stuff that he wants to hear. His grandfather's saying, yeah, does it have sports? Oh, it's got swordplay and all this stuff. And
Right.
the grandson's like, yeah, okay,
He's
whatever.
buttering him up.
Exactly. So we start off with on a farm, the farm girl, Buttercup, played by Robin Wright, who was 21 at the time.
Wow.
She'd only been working on a soap opera called Santa Barbara. This is her
This is her
first movie.
wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating. She was great.
She was great. And she was not bad looking. I happen to notice that as well. So she's on a farm, and there is farm boy. Notice there were no other people around, no parents,
just the two
no
of them.
nothing,
Yeah.
just the two of them,
Right.
just her, Buttercup, and farm boy.
Yeah, that's why I was like, was this a parody? It felt so.
That was a great setup, wasn't it?
Felt like
They
that.
didn't want to have anything extraneous to distract you. You know, just Buttercup.
Just
and,
focus on
and
these
farm
two
boy.
characters. Yeah,
Exactly.
I can appreciate that.
So, by the way, his name is Farm Boy, and then it became Wesley because that was his name. But she only called him Farm Boy, and then he became Dread Pirate Roberts, of course. So
a man of many names.
he had many, many names, and that was played by Cary Elwes, and he was pitch perfect.
He was.
I thought.
Loved him.
So they fall in love, storybook love, and they also felt it was real love.
Yeah.
I love how when she would ask him to do anything, his only response, "As you wish."
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes.
So Farm Boy, though, hey, he needs to take off and make his fortune,
Yeah.
and he just can't do it being Farm Boy.
Yeah. He wants to provide for her.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
So upon leaving, he says to her, "Hear this now. I will always come for you." And she replies, "How can you be sure?" To which Farm Boy replies, "This is true love. You think this happens every day?" I love the way he said it, too.
Yeah.
But sometime later, Buttercup hears that her farm boy was killed by the dread pirate Roberts. So she vows to never love again. She said that, I have to admit, I was a bit crushed by that.
Crushed.
Yeah. So she eventually gets to, we don't know how much time's passed, but she gets engaged to Prince Humperdinck, played by Chris Sarandon, who was fantastic. And she was quite clear with him that she did not love him. And that she would never love again.
She's sticking true to her word.
Oh boy, she was. So her only pleasure, as they said in this, was riding her horse. So one day while she's out riding her horse, she gets kidnapped by 3 outlaws who I say seem like 2.5 harmless guys.
I like that you put the half in there.
Because, we'll get into Vizzini, but, anyway, Vizzini is the Sicilian leader of the outlaws, and he's played by Wallace Shaw, who does not have a drop of Sicilian blood in him.
He talked a little bit more than he walked, I would say.
Oh, for sure. That's a good way to put it. I also, reading trivia about him, he was so nervous about being fired that he was sweating a lot through some scenes because he was so nervous. And Rob Reiner, the director tried to put him at ease. Like, dude, you're good.
Yeah, you
but
gotta
he was
stop
just
sweating,
like,
man.
yeah. I thought that was really something.
That's funny.
The other 2 outlaws, if you will, are Inigo Montoya, played by Mandy Patinkin, who's a master swordsman seeking revenge against the 6-fingered man for the slaughter of his father.
Yep.
And the third is Fezzik, played by Andre Rosimov, or Andre the Giant, who is just a giant.
A giant,
There was
yes.
really no backstory whatsoever on him,
And that was
other than he
perfect.
was just a big
the
guy.
3 of them, such a great trio. As like
For
the,
sure.
The bandits.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I love how Inigo and Fezzik are rhyming
Right. Yeah.
and driving Vizzini nuts
Crazy,
with
yeah.
their rhyming.
The
I
whole
thought
time, yeah.
It was very funny. And that just kind of sets the tone for it. These guys aren't outlaws you take seriously as frightening people. They're all kind of sweet,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they kidnap Buttercup and they're, making their getaway at 4 miles an hour in a big ship. And eventually they discover that someone is following them.
Yeah.
So not only is someone following them, but Humperdinck and his men are following them as well.
Right.
Because Humperdinck wants to get his bride back.
Yep. So the prince is coming, and also this mystery man.
Yes, this mystery
on
man
that
in
tail.
black is coming as well. So there you go. That's the setup of the movie. So what I wanted to do, Ryan, is discuss scenes and quotes,
Love it.
because I thought there were some really fun quotes. I found myself watching it and writing like that down. A few of these made me laugh out loud. I mean, I hadn't
yeah, they're
seen
great.
this in a few years.
Yeah.
And I know I'm kind of cutting myself off here, but I just want to put this in parenthetically. Part of why I wanted to see this was I wanted to see if it aged well.
Oh, okay. So you hadn't seen it in a while.
more than 10 years.
Okay.
Easily 15 years.
Yeah.
And I was
See if it still held up.
And to me, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously of the 80s. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, you can tell.
But to me, it did. It absolutely
It's
held up.
relatable. It's funny. The performances are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, everyone is a professional. I do want to say this too. It's not going to come further in the notes. That Billy Crystal's lines, almost all of them were ad-libbed.
Wow.
And that he was making people laugh so much that the director, Rob Reiner, and Carrie Ewells had to go far away and watch on a monitor.
Jeez, they couldn't be around set. Yeah.
Because he was making them laugh so much.
Man, that's funny.
So
It's a good problem to have.
It is. Okay, so the first scene I want to talk about with the quote here is 3 outlaws have kidnapped Buttercup. Like I said, they kidnapped her for ransom, and they're sailing away. And while they're sailing, Vizzini looks at. He mentions that soon they're going to have to kill Buttercup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Inigo Montoya and Fezzik are not down with this at all. They're like, "Hey, boss, you never mentioned anything about killing."
Yeah, we're not murderers.
No.
Yeah.
So Vizzini gets angry with their objection and chews them out. While he's chewing out Fezzik, who is Andre the Giant, he threatens him by saying, "Do you want me to send you back where you were? Unemployed in Greenland?" That made me laugh out loud so hard because do you want me to send you back to where you were? You think like a dungeon? You think like, was he in war? You know, you're thinking, to me, my mind just...
Your mind goes to like some awful place. Like,
rescued He was imprisoned.
Yeah.
Unemployed in Greenland.
Oh, God, anything but back there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's a great
It still makes me laugh. I think that is absolutely hilarious because it's so freaking unexpected.
Yeah.
And I love how, typical also of like Bugs Bunny cartoons. This is not for kids,
Right.
I mean, this is absolutely for adults.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that was fantastic.
Such a great line.
And I love when a movie can actually make me laugh out loud. And that absolutely did. So that's where I got a shot of endorphins.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit of the cocktail there.
Yeah, the feeling good, happy endorphins lit up my brain, and I enjoyed it so very much.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to another one. So the mystery man, like I said, is in a ship behind their ship. He's dressed in black, and he's pursuing the kidnappers, and he catches up to them at the Cliffs of Insanity, which were actually the Cliffs of Dover, which I thought was really cool, too.
That's fascinating.
So that did shoot that there. So... Vizzini leaves his swordsman, Montoya, played by Mandy Patinkin, behind to dispatch the masked man.
This was so funny.
And I love their whole encounter.
Their whole shtick of like, take a break for a second, man. Like, I'll kill you in a minute.
Well, even before that,
catch your breath.
He's if you haven't seen this, he's scaling. Imagine the Cliffs of Dover, like I don't know, 1,000 feet,
cliff on the edge of the.
And he's
rocks.
just climbing up this rope,
Yeah.
And Vizzini, before he left, cut the rope, to kill him. But he clung to the side of the cliff.
He held on,
and now he has to just do a lot of rock climbing, sheer cliff rock climb to get up.
Yeah.
And Montoya is a little anxious to have the swordplay. Can you hurry it up?
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe if you throw me a rope. So throws him the rope, gets him up there, and then he figures out the Dread Pirate. It's the Dread Pirate Roberts. So he wants to give him a few minutes to collect himself, to give him a sporting chance.
Yeah.
Before he kills him. Yeah, exactly. And it's really funny because it's total tongue in cheek.
It's just so comical. Yeah.
It's awesome, and I love how these guys they also respect each other.
Yeah, because they both, when they do eventually start sword fighting, they're both like pretty evenly matched.
They are pretty evenly matched. Can I tell you a little trivia about that too?
Love to hear it.
So Mandy Patinkin and Carrie Elwes trained for some say weeks, some say months. I believe the months because they were quite convincing to me.
Yeah.
And those didn't look like plastic swords.
No.
And if they were, the sound was really well done.
Yeah.
They practiced for, let's just say, months. And then they showed Rob Reiner the director, here's what we've got. And it was like a minute of sword fighting. And he was completely underwhelmed. And he told him, like, go back to the drawing board.
Wow.
And they were really upset.
Damn.
So we'll show him. They came up with more than 3 minutes of sword fighting. And they worked with an Olympic gold medalist. They work with real people who were real sword fighters. And they are saying to each other while they're sword fighting, oh, I know what technique you're using. I know which defense you're using. And those were actual fencing techniques.
Wow, so they were like professionals.
They were really doing it.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so great.
That's awesome.
So before they have this sword fight, Inigo Montoya tells the masked man, the Dread Pirate Roberts, that his life mission is revenge against the Six-Finger Man who killed his father. And that happened because, well, Inigo's father made him, the Six-Fingered Man, this beautiful sword. When he came to get the sword and give payment, he got the sword, but he killed Inigo's father rather than pay for the sword.
Yeah.
So he's been spending like the last 20 years studying swordplay and looking for the
Hunting
Six-Fingered
down
Man.
this guy, yeah.
So he tells the masked man that we now know is the Dread Pirate Roberts, and we also know that it's Farm Boy, because he's really not that well masked.
Disguised.
No, disguised. He says that he tells the Dread Pirate Roberts / Wesley / Farm Boy that when he meets the Six-Fingered Man, he's going to say, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. And, I say, perhaps this could give you a shot of dopamine, because this is something where this guy is talking about what he's devoted his life to. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I believe in this cause.
Yeah, you're like, hell yeah, man. Go for it.
Right. Because you're hearing about a righteous cause, a man seeking justice against a terrible crime.
This is just so badass.
It is so badass.
Hello.
And I don't think it's, giving too much away. Obviously, we already have. But, when Dread Pirate Roberts bests him, he said killing him would be like breaking a stained glass window. Mm. And he couldn't do it. So he knocks him out.
Yeah.
Which I really liked.
Which I appreciate, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes you like Dread Pirate Roberts a little bit more.
Exactly.
/ Farm Boy.
It's / Farm Boy. So, Ryan, why don't we take a bad guy break?
Let's do it, man.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Okay. So,
let's see, you stumped me last time, so let's see if I can get this one.
Well, let's see. So this bad guy, kind of like the Dread Pirate Roberts, we don't really see this guy do anything bad.
Okay, interesting.
Yet he's a bad guy, supposedly. But we don't see that. Are we just supposed to believe it?
I like
we're supposed to believe that Dread Pirate Roberts was horrible? We didn't see him do anything bad. He seemed like a pretty decent fella.
Right, so it's just a rumor.
It's just a rumor.
Yeah, maybe this guy's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the year is 1994. It's a film.
Okay, from 94.
The genre is drug crime, gangster, dark comedy.
Ooh, I like this.
The bad guy I'm referring to is Vin Rames.
Vin Rames.
Playing Marcellus Wallace.
Marcellus Wallace. I don't know it.
The film is Pulp Fiction.
Ooh. I haven't seen Pulp Fiction in a long time.
So he was Uma Thurman's husband, who was like badass gangster.
Okay, yeah, I remember.
But we never saw him do anything bad. We saw a lot of other people do bad things.
Yeah, but
we never. No.
Sure.
And when he did go after people, it was bloody justified.
Yeah, sure.
So, because he got the raw end of the stick, so to speak.
It was.
I won't go into detail. It was reasonable.
Yeah.
So
that's true. That's a good one of an example of somebody that's like they just have this reputation.
That's right.
But yet you never see that reputation upheld.
That's right.
Kind of like, this guy's a badass. You don't mess with him. And it's kind of like, for what?
Exactly. Exactly.
Seems all right to me.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'd go for coffee with the guy. I don't know.
I agree.
That's a great one.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
You got me again.
Whew. I don't count on doing that ever. So anytime I do, I have to admit I'm just gonna sit here and wallow in it for a second.
Yeah, pat
'Cause
yourself on the
you
back.
pretty much get me every single time. Every time you do this, it's like, has Joe ever seen a movie?
Well, it sucks when it's something that you know. Like I love Pulp Fiction,
Right.
And I've seen it a number of times.
If I'd sent John Travolta or Samuel L. Jackson,
of course, it would have
You
been too
would've gotten
obvious. Yeah, so that was a good. Yeah,
so I had to say who the actual bad guy
a little bit
was.
deeper. Yeah,
Yeah. So
nice.
so that's been done. So let's go to another scene, another quote.
All right.
Let's do this. So Dread Pirate Roberts has now bested the swordsman, and he bested Andre the Giant. By the way, I don't know if you remember this. I almost put this quote in, but I'm just going to remember it, and I'm going to tell you anyway. First he takes on Inigo Montoya, and he beats him. Then he comes across Andre the Giant, and he kind of chokes him out, but only makes him unconscious. And he said to him, I don't envy the headache you're going to have when you wake up, but sleep well and dream of large women.
Another great line. Another just
love
great
that.
moment.
Ah.
Love that too.
So now we'll just call him Wesley. Wesley has bested the swordsman. He's bested the giant.
Yep.
And now he faces Vizzini, who's the brains of this criminal operation.
Oh, this is so fun.
The self-proclaimed brains. So Vizzini is more, he's more proud of his brain power than really he should be. Just a touch arrogant. And again,
Just a
Wally Shaw
touch.
is just fantastic in this.
Yeah.
So Dread Pirate Roberts / Wesley / Farm Boy challenges him to a battle of the wits. And he puts, there are 2 chalices of wine at their table, at the little table out in the middle of nowhere. He has a table. I don't know
that
why.
get there?
Okay. Anyway, I don't question. Suspension of disbelief.
We'll believe.
So Wesley challenges Vizzini to a battle of the wits. He takes their 2 glasses of wine. He turns around and he pours iocane powder. You can't detect it in any way possible. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. Supposedly, he dumps it in one of the chalices, we think.
And it's poison.
And it's poison. It's very deadly.
Yeah.
Turns back around and he's like, okay, let the battle of wits begin. Wally Shaw, man, it's just too funny. I'm going to have to read this one because I don't want to get it wrong. So Vizzini laughs and he says, you fell victim to one of the classic blunders, the most famous of which is never get involved in a land war in Asia. But only slightly less well known is this: never go in against a Sicilian when death is on the line. I didn't read that well.
Don't
but,
you dare.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Never start a land war in Asia.
That's hilarious.
It's so what's the term? It's not of that time. I mean, something
of
like that
course.
was going to come hundreds of years later.
Right.
And that was attributed to potentially to Field Marshal Montgomery and an address he made to the House of Lords. And it was worded differently, but it was basically saying the same thing, which was learned, in World War I and II, which is, the landmass of Russia is large. And that's pretty much what defeated the Germans in World War II was winter and just the landmass of Russia itself. Anyway, I thought that was such a hilarious line. And of course, he did best him. And that, by he, I mean Wesley / Farm Boy / Dread Pirate Roberts, because he had, he'd given himself
The poison as well.
tolerance. Right. So he'd been
He'd
taking
built
the
up tolerance,
He
yeah.
built up tolerance over some time. So he also drank the poison, but it didn't kill him. So
Brilliant.
how are we feeling about the Angel's Cocktail at this point?
Well, I'll tell you, at this point, I'm loving Wesley. At this point of the
No
movie, I'm
doubt.
going, this guy is...
Yeah.
Oh, you want him to get the girl.
Yeah.
You want him to ride off into the sunset
Yeah.
together.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So as I'd mentioned before, it was established pretty early on when Farm Boy and Buttercup, as his response, as you wish to whatever she asked for, is another way of saying, I love you. And when the grandson asks his grandfather, if he'll maybe come back again tomorrow, and read the story to him again, I love that.
Yep.
Peter Falk turns and he says, As you wish.
as we know from the beginning.
Love that.
Such a great recall.
It
of
was.
that,
It was.
of that quote.
It was really well done.
It was amazing. Yeah, I love that. That's how it kind of ends.
So did you feel, Ryan, like how'd you feel about this movie? I'm curious.
Yeah, so this is my first time watching it because I had heard about it. It's just one of those movies that's on everyone's list of like you got to see it before you die kind of thing. And then when you had brought it up, I was like, oh, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
And I want to say that is, I love your choices because these are not movies I would regularly just sit down on an evening and watch. You're actually kind of giving me a little push to go back and watch these classic films that have such prowess, if you will. So I appreciate your recommendations.
I appreciate that.
And this was another good one where it was I could appreciate it for what it was, and it made me laugh, and I loved the shtick, and I loved the cat and mouse game, and I loved the characters and their arc and the Inigo Montoya line. And like that was my cocktail. That was my angel's cocktail.
Right there.
Was when I first heard it at the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And he climbs up and he says, like, this is my life's mission. And he says it, and I like pause it, and I was like, that's where it's from, you know? Like, holy shit.
I love that.
And later when he like bests the six-fingered man.
Yeah.
God, it's just such a great moment. And all of it, what I'm trying to get at here is that the love for this movie, it all made sense to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Why? Like by the end of the film, I got it. I'm like, oh, this is why this is so endeared. Like this movie. I was laughing. I was rooting for characters. I loved, they were endearing. Andre, the giant, everyone. It just makes you feel good. I got those endorphins, that oxytocin, that dopamine. I got that cocktail, man.
Right on.
So
right on.
I appreciate you recommending this to me.
Yeah. Well, it makes me happy to hear that you had that reaction because it's one of those movies that I just really love.
And you come back to.
Yeah, and I've come back to. And as I said, I thought it aged really, really well. It's a lot of people who are extremely talented in that movie, doing what they do really well, and you can tell they're having a really good time doing it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and that's what makes a good movie. That's what makes a good story.
Yeah,
that's what makes a good quote unquote product, if you will.
Yeah,
and why it's so well received by the masses, because you can tell that these people all put their heart and soul into it and had a good time.
For sure.
And then it's only natural that a good thing would come of that.
Totally agree. And one of the things that I really appreciate about it too, and what I wondered about before watching it this time, was because it was filmed in 1987, is it going to feel slow?
Oh, right.
And it didn't.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought it was good, efficient storytelling.
Yeah, the pacing was always there.
There was no fluff.
No.
It was just
straight to the point.
It really just kept things moving.
Yeah.
And it kept a really excellent line to me of humor and lightness throughout the whole thing. So I thought its tenor was really consistent.
Yeah, that's a great point. The balance that you have to have between drama and comedy is tough sometimes.
It is tough. And that's where I think having the great actors like Mandy Patinkin make a big difference.
Agreed. He was my favorite, by the way, from the film. I think what stuck out to me was it was telling the story in a unique way. And that was the grandfather telling the story to the kid. Like,
exactly.
When it started off like that, when the movie started and it was a kid in his bedroom playing video games, I was like, this is not the movie I thought I was watching. Where are we?
Right.
Like I gotta look. Did I put the right thing on? Like, am I watching?
Oh, that's funny.
Some Disney Channel film? Like, what is this?
That's funny.
And then when he comes in, he's like, I'm gonna tell you a story. I was like, I like that. That's different. That's fresh. That's a new way to tell a story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate that.
Incredibly clever.
Yeah.
And it's that's down to now I can't remember his name. The man who wrote the book and the screenplay.
Okay.
And he wrote it for his daughters. One wanted a story about a princess, and another one wanted a story about a wedding. So he combined those two
There
things.
you go. You got the best of both worlds here.
Exactly. And it took years and years and years to get that made. There were a lot of false starts and everything. But I think he was extremely happy. And forgive me to you who wrote it. Forgive me so much.
Yeah, shout out to him. Shout out to Rob Reiner. Shout out to the
Absolutely.
cast, the crew,
Yeah.
everybody who made a really great film that stood the test of time.
It really did.
And it gave us our angel cocktail.
It did.
I like that. I'm going to use that from now on. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'm going to become insufferable to my friends.
Oh, I love it. Insufferability.
Yeah.
So I'm going to recommend some feel good movies.
Okay.
You know,
My favorite kind.
so the first two I thought kind of keep with quasi fantasy stuff.
Okay.
So I went with the Harry Potter franchise.
Oh,
You know, come on, it's great storytelling. It's good stuff.
it is. It's great.
Great characters.
My girlfriend and I, she was sick, and we stayed in over the weekend last
Okay.
weekend. And naturally, we just binge watched all
Awesome.
the. If we're sitting on the couch doing nothing all day because
Right.
she's sick or one of us is sick, you might as well use it as an opportunity to watch the Harry Potter films.
I agree. Another option you would have been to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh,
So that's my second.
debatably the greatest trilogy of all time.
Totally agree. Tolkien was a genius. There's no doubt about that. The third one is Little Miss Sunshine,
Ooh, that's a good feel-good movie. You're
which
right.
I loved. Abigail Breslin and Alan Arkin's dynamic was so fantastic. Granddaughter and grandfather. Yeah.
That scene when she is in the bed and he comes to her bedside and comforts her and is
Yep.
like,
Yep.
oh, man.
Yep. Especially because he wasn't going to be around a whole lot longer.
Right.
Like, I think the next scene, actually,
Yeah.
he's gone.
Makes it hit that much
Woo.
more.
The next one is called I Love You, Man. Jason Segel and Paul
yeah,
Rudd.
baby.
I just love that.
I love that movie. Me and my friends grew up quoting that film. Quoting
Awesome.
that. Yeah. City Slicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the last one, I don't know if you've seen this. High Fidelity, John Cusack. And Ibn Yala. I think that's how you say it.
No, I don't think I've seen this.
You need to see it.
Can you give me a quick log line?
He works in a record store.
Okay.
He's a really talented guy, but
Talented how?
he's a
Musician or-
bright dude.
Okay.
Here, let me just read the synopsis.
Yeah, give me a quick IMDb synopsis here. Sorry,
I will.
folks.
No, it's okay. Rob, a record store owner and compulsive list maker, recounts his top 5 breakups, including one in progress. And I just loved it. The book was written by Nick Hornby,
Okay.
who also wrote, I believe, About a Boy,
Interesting.
which I
okay.
almost put in here.
Is this on anything? Does it say there if it's streaming anywhere right
It is on Prime Video.
now? Okay, perfect.
We might
Maybe
have
I'll
to save
check it
that.
out.
We might have to say that for an episode
Okay, a legacy app.
because that's a really good one.
Okay, got it.
So I think that kind of wraps it up for us here.
That wraps up our
Right.
angel cocktail here.
Yeah. So
All right, I love that.
So thank you for joining us today, and remember, as always, you're the main character of your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because sometimes the answers that you've been looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time.
Peace.